You need to sign these papers, Emma, my mother said, sliding a stack of documents across the kitchen table. I stared at them, my coffee growing cold beside my half-eaten breakfast. The morning after my PG celebration dinner should have been peaceful. Instead, I was facing another attempt to strip away my inheritance. The lake house belongs to Jessica now, my father added from his position by the window. Your sister needs a fresh start after her divorce, and you've got your career to focus on. My name is Emma Parker, and at 28, I was watching my parents try to manipulate me out of my grandfather's most precious gift. The lake house had been my sanctuary since childhood, the place where Grandpa taught me about nature, photography, and most importantly, standing up for myself. No, I said simply, pushing the papers back. Grandpa left the lake house to me for a reason. Mom's face hardened. Your sister has children, Emma. Think about the memories they could make there. You're always traveling for your research anyway. When was the last time you even visited? I bit back a laugh. They had no idea that I'd been spending every weekend at the lake house for the past year, documenting the local ecosystem for my doctoral thesis. Grandpa's old study had become my research base, though I kept that quiet. Some secrets were worth keeping. Last weekend, actually, I replied, watching their expressions shift. And the weekend before that. The lake house isn't just property to me. It's my work, my future, my legacy. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Your legacy? What about family? Jessica's kids need stability. Maybe Jessica should have thought about stability before gambling away her savings, I shot back, immediately regretting my words. We'd all been tiptoeing around my sister's addiction, pretending her divorce was just bad luck rather than the consequence of her choices. Mom pulled out her final weapon. Tears. How can you be so selfish? We raised you better than this. Your grandfather would be ashamed. That was the wrong thing to say. Grandpa had spent years warning me about their manipulative tactics. Don't let them guilt you into giving up what's rightfully yours, he'd said during our last conversation before he passed. The safe holds the truth. I stood up, gathering my things. I have work to do. The answer is no. Then you leave us no choice, Mom said, her tears mysteriously gone. She pulled out a lighter and held it to the corner of the deed I kept framed on the kitchen wall. Sign the papers or watch it burn. I stayed perfectly still, watching as the flame caught the edge of the frame. Dad looked uncomfortable but didn't intervene. The paper curled and blackened, my grandfather's signature disappearing into ash. There, Mom said triumphantly. Now you have to sign. It's the only way to maintain legal ownership. I picked up my bag, a strange calm settling over me. You really should have asked about the safe first. What safe? Dad's voice cracked slightly. The one in the lake house basement. The one Grandpa showed me the day before he died. The one containing the original deed, his full will, and, I paused at the door, the journals documenting every financial decision this family has made for the past 30 years. The color drained from both their faces. They knew exactly what those journals contained. Records of their mismanagement of family funds, the money they'd borrowed from my college fund to cover Jessica's gambling debts, every manipulative financial move they'd made. You're bluffing, Mom whispered, but her hands were shaking. I pulled out my phone, showing them a photo of the safe's contents. Grandpa knew you'd try something like this. He kept receipts. Literally. Emma, wait, Dad called as I headed for the door. We can discuss this. No, I replied firmly. I think Grandpa's journals have done all the talking necessary. I'll be at the lake house if you need me, though I suggest you think carefully about your next move. As I drove away, my phone buzzed repeatedly with messages from my parents. I ignored them all, heading straight for the sanctuary of my lake house. Grandpa had taught me well. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in loud confrontations, but in quiet preparation. The lake house came into view, its weathered wooden exterior hiding decades of family secrets. I parked in my usual spot, noticing fresh tire tracks in the gravel. Someone had been here recently. Approaching the door, I found it slightly ajar. Jessica was inside, standing in the living room with a box of files from the basement. Looking for something, sis? I asked, making her jump. The safe's contents are already in my lawyer's office. Has been for months. She dropped the box, papers scattering across the floor. Mom said the deed was destroyed. Said you had to sign it over. I smiled, remembering Grandpa's words about being prepared. Mom should have learned by now. Nothing in this family is ever that simple. Jessica's face twisted with anger as she stared at the scattered papers. This isn't fair, Emma. You have your fancy PhD, your career. I have nothing since Tom left. My kids need this. I walked over to the large window overlooking the lake, the same spot where Grandpa used to sit and tell me stories about standing firm in life's storms. Your kids need a mother who takes responsibility for her choices, not one who expects others to clean up her messes. You don't understand, she started, but I cut her off. I understand perfectly. You lost $200,000 at online casinos. Money that was supposed to be for your kids' college fund. Money that Tom discovered was missing, which led to your divorce. Did I miss anything? She sank onto the couch, her defensive posture crumbling. How did you? Grandpa's journals aren't just about Mom and Dad's financial schemes. He kept track of everything, including the money they took from my college fund to cover your first gambling debt 5 years ago. The revelation hit her hard. They said that money was from their savings. They lied. Just like they're lying now about the deed being the only copy, just like they've been lying to themselves about enabling your addiction. My phone buzzed again. More messages from our parents, likely warning me about Jessica being at the lake house. Too late as usual. I turned to face my sister fully, really looking at her. The designer clothes couldn't hide her exhaustion, the dark circles under her eyes, the slight tremor in her hands. When was the last time you played? I asked quietly. She flinched. Last night. Lost another $5,000 I don't have. And you thought getting the lake house would solve everything? Mom said we could sell it. Split the money. She wouldn't meet my eyes. She said you were being selfish. That family should help family. I walked to Grandpa's old desk, opening a bottom drawer where I kept my research materials. You want to know why Grandpa left me the lake house? I pulled out a thick folder. This is my research project. I've been studying the lake's ecosystem, documenting the impact of climate change on local wildlife. 3 universities are interested in establishing a research station here. Jessica looked confused. What does that have to do with anything? Everything. Grandpa didn't just leave me a house. He left me a purpose. He knew I'd protect this place, study it, preserve it for future generations, including your kids if you bothered to look beyond its monetary value. I spread my research photos across the desk. Birds nesting, endangered fish species, the delicate balance of the wetland ecosystem. Your children could learn about nature here, about conservation, about leaving the world better than they found it. Instead, you're teaching them that everything has a price tag. Tears started rolling down Jessica's cheeks. I don't know how to stop, she whispered. Every time I lose, I think the next bet will fix everything. For the first time in years, I saw my sister instead of her mistakes. There's a treatment center in the next town. Grandpa left money specifically for family medical emergencies. It's in a separate account one Mom and Dad can't access. Her head snapped up. What? 6 months of intensive therapy fully covered. But you have to choose it, Jess. No more enabling, no more bailouts, no more expecting others to sacrifice their futures for your addiction. She stared at the scattered papers on the floor, then at the research photos on the desk. The kids love this lake, she said softly. Tom used to bring them fishing here. They can still come fishing. Once you're healthy, once you're really ready to be the mother they deserve. A car door slammed outside. Our parents had arrived. Jessica stood up, wiping her eyes. They're going to be furious. I smiled, remembering all the times Grandpa had told me that the hardest choices are usually the right ones. Let them be. Sometimes family helps by standing firm, not by giving in. Mom burst through the door, Dad right behind her. They froze at the sight of Jessica's tear-stained face and the papers strewn across the floor. What have you done? Mom demanded, glaring at me. Before I could respond, Jessica stepped forward. She showed me the truth. About everything. She turned to face our parents. I need help, real help. Not another cover-up. Mom's face went pale. Jessica, don't. Emma has proof of where my college fund money went, I continued. Of every loan, every secret withdrawal, every lie. Is that really the legacy you want to leave? Dad sank into Grandpa's old armchair, suddenly looking every bit his age. We were trying to protect the family. No, I said firmly. You were trying to protect your image. There's a difference. I pulled out the treatment center brochure I'd been keeping in my desk. This is what real protection looks like. This is what family really means. Jessica took the brochure with trembling hands, while our parents stood in stunned silence. Through the window, the lake sparkled in the afternoon sun, unchanging despite the storm brewing inside its walls. Grandpa would have appreciated the metaphor. A month has passed since that confrontation at the lake house. Jessica checked into the treatment center the next day, showing more courage than I'd ever given her credit for. Our parents, while they're still adjusting to the new reality, I sit in Grandpa's old study, now my research office, reviewing data from our latest water quality tests. The lake house has transformed into exactly what Grandpa envisioned, a perfect blend of family sanctuary and environmental research station. My phone buzzes with a text from Jessica, 90 days clean. Kids visiting tomorrow. Can we use the dock? I smile, typing back. Already set up the fishing poles. Don't forget their life jackets. The sound of gravel crunching under tires draws my attention. Through the window, I see Dad's car pulling up. He's been coming by more frequently lately, usually under the pretense of checking the property's maintenance needs. Today he carries a familiar wooden box. Found this in the attic, he says without preamble, setting the box on my desk. Your grandfather's old photography equipment. Thought you might want it for your research documentation. I open the box carefully, revealing Grandpa's beloved camera and lenses. You kept these all this time. Dad shifts uncomfortably. Was going to sell them back when we were, Couldn't bring myself to do it. The admission hangs between us. That must have been hard, I say finally, choosing not to sell them. Harder to admit we were wrong. He picks up one of my research photos. The lake's wildlife population has increased since you started your conservation work. 23 new species documented this year alone, I confirm. The universities are finalizing the research station funding next week. He nods, still studying the photo. Your grandfather would be proud. Not just of this, he gestures at my research, but of how you handled everything. You stood your ground without burning bridges. I had a good teacher. Better than your mother and me certainly. He sets the photo down. We're selling the country club membership, using the money to help with Jessica's aftercare program. This surprises me. The country club membership was Mom's pride and joy, her symbol of social status. Mom agreed to this? She's learning. We all are. He runs a hand along Grandpa's old desk. Sometimes it takes losing everything to recognize what really matters. The afternoon sun streams through the windows, casting long shadows across the study. Outside, a family of ducks glides past, perfectly at peace on their protected waters. Jessica's bringing the kids tomorrow, I say. You and Mom could come too. Help them fish, like you used to. We'd like that. He turns to leave, then pauses. Emma, your grandfather's journals. What are you planning to do with them? I've thought about this a lot over the past month. They're staying in a safe. The past is the past, Dad. What matters is what we do now. The relief on his face is evident. He nods once, then heads out, leaving me with Grandpa's cameras and decades of family history. Later that evening, as I'm documenting a new bird species by the shoreline, Mom's car pulls up. She carries a large container and looks uncertain. A new look for her. I made your grandfather's lake house stew, she says, setting the container down. Thought you might be hungry with all your research work. The gesture, small as it is, speaks volumes. This is her way of accepting, of trying to bridge the gap she helped create. Thanks, Mom. Want to see what I'm working on? She hesitates, then nods. I show her my latest photographs, explaining about the ecosystem, the research station plans, the future we're protecting. She listens, really listens, maybe for the first time. I was wrong, she says finally, about the lake house, about everything. We thought we were helping Jessica by covering up her problems. Instead, we nearly lost both our daughters. But you didn't, I remind her. We're all still here, just different. The next morning, I watch from the deck as Jessica's kids race down to the dock, their parents following with fishing gear. Mom fusses with their life jackets while Dad baits the hooks, looking more relaxed than I've seen him in years. Jessica catches my eye and mouths thank you before turning back to her children, fully present in their joy. I snap a photo of the scene, thinking how perfectly it captures everything Grandpa wanted for this place. Family healing, nature thriving, futures brightening. The lake house isn't just a piece of property anymore. It's become a testament to standing firm, to choosing truth over convenience, to believing in the possibility of change. In his final journal entry, Grandpa wrote, "The lake house isn't just about the building or the land. It's about legacy, the choice between preserving what matters and selling out for temporary comfort. Emma will understand. Looking at my family on the dock, at the protected waters teeming with life, at the research station plans on my desk, I know he was right. I did understand. And so finally, did they.